Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mainstream Indie Music channel. We talk about all things alternative indie music and everything in between, from pop punk to hip hop to underground artists. We cover it all here on this channel. And especially stay tuned for next week, because not only do we hit the 100 episode mark, I'm also going to talk about exciting things that are coming up for this channel and giving a huge shout out to you guys. I really appreciate all the support. And this week, we are going to talk about a band from Canada. Now, of course, you see the title, who this band is, but to kind of lay down the groundwork, if you've heard of a band that had to really claw and scrap their way into the indie music scene, Metric is definitely one of those bands. They work so hard and continue to work hard for the fans. In fact, while I was doing research into Metric, it's kind of ironic because at this very moment of me recording this video, Metric is actually in I wouldn't say a huge fight, but in somewhat of a fight with the band Bloc Party. Not because they hate each other. In fact, they were actually going to tour together. And that is where all of the fighting is coming from, because Metric said Bloc Party has apparently switched up everything. I know in my city, they went from a huge venue to a smaller venue, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it on Bloc Party's side. I mean, you can watch my concert video that I had on this channel about the story of every single artist nowadays, but especially sad to say these indie bands, alternative bands, really are kind of taking for granted the patience and the wallet of a lot of people that listen to them. You know, I remember when I went to shows, not trying to sound old or date myself, but when I was first going to concerts, I remember thinking if they were like $35, I would think to myself, you are crazy, you are insane. That is a lot of money. Nowadays, in my area, it is very normal to see concert tickets going $75 individually, let alone if usually you're going to go with another person. So that's easily $150 right there for 2 tickets. So, if that is the case, I don't blame Metric, and I love Bloc Party, don't get me wrong, but I understand Metric, kind of being like, hey, what's going on here? Why is this happening? Anyway, Metric, who are they and where did they come from? And a brief history into the band, because they are such a cool band, very, very underappreciated. You think of the likes of like Paramore, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I would include Metric in that category. So let's go into a little bit of their history and why they contributed so much to the alternative indie scene, especially in the 2000s. Now, the story of Metric first really focuses on 2 individuals. That is Emily Haines and James Shaw. Now, the reason why is because they're the ones that kind of were able to get everything together. And interestingly, they have several connections to other indie bands, as of course is going to be the main thrust of the story. But what's interesting is Emily came from a musical family and actually went to kind of like a school college of the arts. And so, that's her background. She comes from a musical background. What's interesting is when she went to that school, she met several different members of future bands, Stars and Broken Social Scene. And in fact, 3 of them, I believe, even tried to make their own band and start their own band together before, of course, that didn't end up working out. Now, what's kind of funny is James Shaw found himself up in Canada as well. And he also came from kind of a musical background, but he himself also met 2 future members of the band Stars, and they tried making music together. It didn't work out. And might I say, with both James and Emily's story and their involvement with future band members of the other indie band Stars, it did not end on bad blood. It just kind of simply just didn't work out. They didn't really have a lot of cohesion amongst each other. But after kind of like those quote unquote failed experiments, Emily and James eventually ran into each other up in Canada. And they bonded by kind of realizing, hey, we don't really like the direction music is going. And what if we made music together? On top of that, they started dating. And at the time, they called them their band that they put together Mainstream, is how it started. After getting kind of serious and releasing a lot of demo tapes of their band Mainstream, that's where they finally moved in with their friends of the band Stars into that infamous New York City loft, which definitely is going to be coming out in a future video, because that loft also housed other future indie rock stars of the day. Think of it. At one point in time, there was Metric, there was band members of Stars, as I said, there was future band members of TV on the Radio, of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and a couple other indie bands as well. Kind of name is escaping me at this point. But they were all there. Now, of course, Metric wanted to start taking their music seriously, and they actually got an offer from a label out in England. And so to kind of escape the crowded loft, that is where they went, where they met their future band members, and they released their very first album. Their very first album was titled Grow Up and Blow Away, which was a very big success. And after kind of doing some touring over in Europe, they returned to New York City eventually, where they released another smaller EP. After some smaller releases, in 2005, they released the album Live It Out, where many of you probably know them from. I remember that album coming out. And to this day, you can really attribute their success to that album, because right away they were picked up and opening for bands such as the Rolling Stones and Block Party. Their fourth album, Fantasies, was released in 2009, and if you didn't know their previous album, then you probably know Fantasies and familiar with that. That not only broke them out again in the indie scene, but that broke them into the movie scene, where they were featured on Scott Pilgrim, and they also were being picked up and opening for other major bands at the time. To really kind of wrap it all up, Metric has released 9 albums, their very last one coming in 2023. And like I said in the beginning of this video, they are still very busy and still touring to this very day. What's kind of interesting is during COVID, they actually got separated as a band because 2 of their band members still continue to live in Canada and 2 of them live in the United States. But what do you guys think of Metric? Do you think that they should get a little bit more love and appreciation? Let us know in the comments. See you next week.